Can it run Crysis? GeForce NOW this week is adding the ability to play the Crysis Remastered Trilogy on the service, and I'm here to answer the question. Spoiler alert, yes it can. Not only that, but it'll do you one better by running the game itself with RTX on and DLSS support. Now, when this title originally launched back in 2007, it was talk of the town for the PC community because no one's PC could actually run it on max settings. At the time, I think it's fair to say that it was a true next-generation experience that gave us a quick peek into what the future held for PC gaming. It's been 15 years since then, and now we have the Trilogy remastered for us to enjoy. Does it still hold up? Surprisingly, yeah it does, and I would even go as far to say that the game still manages to look better than a lot of modern day games releasing today. And don't be mistaken, your computer still needs to be plenty capable to push this game to its limits even though it's been remastered. Luckily, we live in a day and age where we can now rely on cloud gaming to give us the optimal PC experience with high-end hardware. All the gameplay you're currently seeing right now is captured off a GeForce NOW instance with RTX on, DLSS, and in Can It Run Crysis mode. That's the highest graphical setting that the game allows, and I have to say it looks beautiful. But how does it play? And that's where the game's age really does start to show. By no means is it bad, but the gameplay is of its time. While you can see that they did take some time to update some of the controls and bring them up to date, such as the suit powers, for example, armor mode is just Q and stealth mode is E, it is also easy to feel that the differences between today's first-person shooters and their focus on convenience just weren't there back in 2007. For example, your character won't automatically pick up ammo off of dead bodies by just walking over them. You have to manually look down, press the F key, and pick up every single time. It kind of gets annoying, especially when you can't see where the gun is or if it's fallen in a bush and then it's hard to see. I would also recommend sticking a keyboard and mouse for this one because playing on a controller doesn't feel intuitive or as smooth as you'd like. But my biggest complaint by far still has to be the AI. It didn't get any sort of updates, and it's still pretty crazy how they can shoot you from a mile away as long as they have some sort of line of sight. And they go from being absolutely trained killers to one of those AIs that just fumble around trying to figure out where you are. Seriously, go invisible in front of them and they'll somehow lose track of you. But that's enough about harping on the gameplay. Frankly speaking, it is a remaster and they decided to keep the majority of the gameplay the same, and I can respect that choice. Fans of the series are gonna have an absolute blast going back into exactly what they remember, this time with some updated visuals and textures to bring it up to date. Even myself, I remember buying one of my first gaming PCs just to play this game, and it's been an absolute nostalgia trip playing it again. It's exactly like I remember it, and honestly, it still impresses me to this day. And then there's the fact that I actually enjoy the gunplay quite a bit. It doesn't seem to hold your hand much like modern day shooters, and there is a bit of recoil you need to manage. To put it into perspective, I can tell you that I've been playing through Far Cry 6. I'm about 10 hours in, and within those 10 hours, I've died absolutely 0 times to the AI. In fact, my only death in that game was jumping off a cliff, going into a glider, and then slamming my face into a rock. In Crysis though, I do have to take a bit more time to actually plan out what I'm gonna do. It's not as easy as just running into the middle of the group and start shooting everything. Believe me, I tried it, and I died quite a few times. Like I said, this is certainly a blast from the past, and it does remind me of games of those days, and if that's what you're after, you should definitely check it out. But that's enough about the gameplay. We've already talked about the visuals, now let me talk a bit about the experience on GeForce NOW. I have 0 complaints about playing this game in terms of latency and using the keyboard and mouse. It feels just like playing it locally on my PC. But I do need to point out one thing about the performance. I'm currently playing it on Can It Run Crysis mode, and for me, this is good enough. I can get used to whatever I'm playing. But I do need to point out that even though this instance is running on a 2080 GPU, there are frame rate drops. So if you want a consistent 60 FPS experience, I would recommend dropping those settings to high. You can still keep RTX on with DLSS, and you'll notice the gameplay is much smoother. Frankly speaking, the visual drop between the two settings is kind of negligible as well. And I do also need to point out that this Crysis 1 remaster does have a few bugs and visual glitches, and that's no fault of GeForce NOW. This game is just known to have visual glitches, the remaster in particular. You want to check it out, go look at the Steam reviews, you'll see a lot of people talking about it. In my opinion, it's all pretty minor stuff, but I do know it's something some people want to know about as it can annoy some users. Based on what I'm hearing about Crysis 2 and Crysis 3 Remastered, those performance issues and visual glitches are done away with. And as a heads up for those wondering, Crysis 2 and Crysis 3 Remastered are set to go live either later today or tomorrow. So is Crysis Remastered worth it? Honestly, I would say yeah if you're a fan of the series, and also yeah if you've ever wanted to experience and see what the hype was about. While these games were remastered, it's easy to see just how far ahead of their time they were. And playing it through GeForce Now is a fantastic experience, especially if you still don't have a very capable PC, because you can run Crysis now. And just to wrap things up, I want to point out that Crysis 1 Remastered is available on GeForce Now through both Steam and the Epic Game Store, but Crysis 2, 3, and the Trilogy bundle are exclusive to the Epic Game Store at this point in time. If you have any remaining questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below and I'll answer what I can. And if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out. And if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. As always, thank you for watching the video. This has been The Virtual Cloud, giving you the latest and greatest on everything cloud gaming and VR related, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.